Well, hey there, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Speaking of. I'm Steve Weissman, your host. I'm the InfoGov guy, and I'm just so pleased to be joined by Gene Stakhov of enChoice, who's InfoGov practice lead there, wearing an unusual Marlins shirt. That's not Florida. You can't fool me. Welcome, Gene.
Thanks, buddy. Thank you. It's nice to finally be here. Yeah. So This is not any new software. It's not the Florida Marlins. This is my son's swim team here at Marlboro, New Jersey. It's their summer swim league. So my son's 13 years old. He's on a swim team. He actually couldn't swim a year ago, but now he's on the swimming team. So
That's
really,
awesome.
really nice progress. Very proud of him. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And
See, Marlins, nobody wants to be the ocean sunfish. So
right.
the mola mola.
or or the tuna. I
Oh,
don't know.
the-
You know the
Anyhow, so we're here to talk about something you and I have both tapped into independently. And it seems to be a trend. I'm an old industry analyst, and so basically, if you have 2 points, that means it's a line, and that's what's actually happening. So let's reality test that. The topic today is the increasing visibility of information governance in data governance circles. We both seem to have been receiving more and more inquiries from what we would think of as DataGov people asking InfoGov style questions. And I had mentioned that to you, and you seem to be experiencing the same thing. So people aren't tuning in necessarily to hear me talk about it. Do you still agree? I know you were just at a conference where maybe this had surfaced. Really love to hear about not only what your observations are, but what you picked up there.
Yeah, I do agree, and I think what I saw and heard and learned at the IBM Tech Exchange conference, a lot of there was a lot of data governance, but punctuated the underpinning was all the driven by artificial intelligence, everything that's happening with AI, and I think that like I said, that punctuates the role of data governance, and it's kind of bringing, I think, teasing out the reality that the traditional role of data governance and how it's been nestled under IT and it's been flushed with these tools and models and things like that, and data patterns, and just all the stuff that data scientists have been working on, and when it comes to like the fine tuning of data and the curation and all that kind of stuff. I think the reality is setting in that, like, look, we need more than just that, right? We need more than just the tool sets and the folks nestled under IT. We need kind of a strategic direction for how we're going to do this, because I think now that the tantalizing prospect of folks out there playing with chat GPT, they're seeing the value of maybe generative AI. And I know we're not talking AI here, but I really feel like this is kind of the driving force that's pushing this up to
Sure.
the bubbling to the surface. I think the realities of that are forcing people to consider, like, hey, look, we really need to get our crap together, right? If we're going to deploy this and make sense out of it, because I mean, if you're in a scenario, if you're in an organization that refers to a data, some data component in three different ways because you've got siloed systems, and as humans you can't agree, you can imagine like what's going to happen when you feed all that to an AI. And is that the kind of AI model that you want to unleash on a customer chatbot experience, or even internally, right, if you're doing research? So I think there's an acknowledgement, a tacit acknowledgement maybe, that hey, there's a need for a strategic oversight. And I think that this is where these two sort of historically divergent, dichotomies of data governance and information governance are starting to converge a little bit, perhaps. And it's, if that is the case, like, and what we've both been noticing just anecdotally, then obviously it's a wonderful opportunity for us, but also really very exciting, because I think maybe what we've been lacking in the IG space is some of those tool sets, right, and standards. And maybe that's what the data governance folks can bring along, and vice versa.
Well,
We can
we've
do some of the policy and procedure stuff.
we've
So, yeah.
certainly agreed for a long time that, at least the way we look at the world, the whole the IG bit is an umbrella, and certainly IT data governance would fall under that umbrella. I know where you and I tend to spend a lot of time is sort of on the document side of things, whatever
Yeah.
documents are these days, documents and records and
Yeah.
bears oh my.
Yeah.
but I've always, we call it, whatever kind of governance label we want to put on it, it is all about really optimizing the quality and the value of the data slash information that we have.
Hmm.
Um, I guess I,
Yeah.
I haven't really spent a lot of time thinking about AI as a driver of that, although I've certainly spoken and written enough about the need, but never sort of articulated directly the way you just did, which is already a great takeaway for me. Um, I created this
Yeah.
term semi laughingly about ruminant AI because of AI's tendency to suck up all the content in the world, including the stuff that it sucked up and spit out before. So as they're kind of just chewing on the same material over and over again.
Yeah.
I think that's a real risk. But I've now, thanks to you, been able to close that circuit. Say if that's going to become more and more prevalent, then it just increases the need to govern that source of data in the first place, including being
Yeah.
mindful of stuff that the AI engines have produced that may or may not be accurate. I'm trying to be
Yeah.
diplomatic about it.
For sure. Yeah. And by the way, I saw that post. I read that post on LinkedIn
Oh,
from the Ruminant AI post. I thought, wow, we should just start calling companies cows from now on. That's not a bad nickname for a company. It's a big cow. That's one big cow over there. That IBM. Um, but and to your point about IG being an umbrella and DataGov kind of finding a place in that umbrella, just as other things do. Absolutely, absolutely agree. And I didn't mean to suggest that, and I'm not apologizing or anything like that, but you're right. I didn't mean to kind of suggest that, hey, over on this side we have IG, over on this side we have DG, and here they are coming
oh
together.
no, you didn't. It's more
Yeah,
my own internal
yeah,
mental gymnastics I'm commenting on because
yeah.
the way
But
you
also,
articulated it kind of made me go, oh, well, yeah, obviously.
yeah. Well, and also, I think what's influencing, my way of expressing myself now is being at the conference and just being immersed in the kind of the IBM take on this whole thing, which is significant. IBM's a big player in the AI world and obviously in the data world, and the way they have it structured is they have different brands, right? So they have like the IBM data brand. That's a distinct, separate kind of line of business, and that's where a lot of the data governance tools fit in, or all the data governance tools. And then they have the automation brand, which historically is where I've fit in. Automation meaning, the digital business automation, which is like kind of the new way of saying ECM in IBM speak. So,
Right.
and the automation brand is all about unstructured data, whereas the data brand is all about structured data. And I think maybe that's kind of more of the dichotomy that I was referring to, not so much IG versus DG, but it's really the unstructured world and the structured world. And I think, if you're going to truly talk about information at an enterprise scale and, extrapolating business value out of it the way you're supposed to, you can't separate those two worlds. They have to be looked at in unison and in a truly enterprise way, because that's where your business intelligence lives. That's where your value is, right?
Right.
It's not just in your structured database, and it's not just in your documents. It's in the combination of these things and what they mean. And there's probably some symbiotic, you know, relationship there that I haven't even fully teased out yet. But I think it's the situation right now, I think, is at an inflection point and it's ripe for that type of blending, topically. Who knows? Maybe IBM will restructure. Maybe they'll listen to this and they'll be like, "Oh, these two guys are right. We should strategically restructure our
Well,
our two lines of business."
it's really funny that you say that because I was just thinking, not directly that they would restructure, but I was kind of making the case in my head that suggests that kind of restructuring does make sense.
Yeah,
There's nothing new in the world, right? We're just all variations on a theme. So, um, I've been doing this stuff for probably too long, and I remember when all things web came in, and it was
yeah,
sort of off to the side for a while, and then it became a challenge for the software tool makers. Well, that's not true either. It was not just them, but also, users of this stuff to figure out how to web enable the applications that they had.
Mm,
They could see the value in doing that. And ultimately the wall that separated web stuff from, regular stuff came down. So I
mhm.
wonder if we're seeing the first crumblings of the wall separating structured and unstructured.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's interesting, and I guess you're right. In when you're around technology long enough, you realize that hey, man, everything new is everything old rather is new again, right? Like a lot of us look at the cloud and we're like, yeah, we used to call that mainframe. That's
Right. Right.
you've got you've got
Or
yeah,
time sharing.
right. You've got dumb terminals and like RPA, right? Robotic process automation. That we used to call that screen scraping and things like they,
Yeah.
Halapi. And I used to write these Halapi interfaces that would take stuff from one screen and put them into another automatically. And it's funny, things get reinvented all the time. But yeah, I just think, with the demands of increasingly automated technologies, AI and RPA, and the level of expectation that we're placing into our computing devices to do things, to do stuff for us, whether it's automating or machine learning or whatever it is. If you're going to mentally and physically, right, silo your data sources, you're just not going to make much progress. You're not going to be able to. I mean, each one has their as disciplines. They have their own languages and their own ways of doing things, and that's fine. But ultimately, somewhere those borders have to come down because it's all one sort of corpus of you know of inputs.
Yeah.
And so if you're gonna be successful at it, at some point, someone's got to have the initiative to say, "Look, this is all just stuff. Want to call it information? Fine. You want to call it data? Fine. But it's all our stuff." Ultimately, what really matters is understanding that that's something that's used for ultimately business value.
Yeah. You were literally speaking my language, regular viewers and longtime followers besides, I'm sorry.
I'm glad you said that. 'Cause I was about to transition over into Russian. I wasn't sure if I was coming through. So
but, I mean, that's why I, I, I come to calling this stuff very
yeah,
intentionally, so as not to get bogged down in the arguments over what's data and what's knowledge and what's. I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. The structured versus unstructured, that matters, not in philosophy or strategy, but in terms of the tactics, because the tools will be different. But the approach that you need to
yeah,
take as an organization, to me, is the same. You've got to get your arms around your stuff so you can do something meaningful with it and avoid stuff related risks.
yeah, yeah. And it's that basic sort of human stuff, initiative and getting people in a room from disparate siloed units and talking so that you can establish this sort of canvas, like what I like to call the information fabric, right? You can
Yep.
start mapping that out. And that's you don't need technology for that, right? You need initiative, and you need somebody to say this needs to be done, and you need some support. And these are all things that are human and organizational change management problems. They're not technology problems. You can throw as many shiny new things and wonderful technologies at this, but if you're not going to do those steps, then you're not going to get anywhere, or you're just going to make things worse. So I think that's hopefully, I think what you and I are finding, what we started talking about, is that's sort of starting to bubble up. Is that like maybe the data governance folks are saying, like, look, yeah, we kind of need this strategic overlay on top of what we're doing to demonstrate perhaps the business value.
Well, let's hope. And
Yeah.
as we move towards wrapping up here, I'll extend your information fabric metaphor and encourage everybody watching to stick to the knitting of
Good.
bringing these sides together, because it I'm feeling validated now, not just because you're seeing the same things I am, but that you've come back from this really a cornerstone conference and hearing kind of the same things. I suspect that it's very early, but it does seem to be real that one of the biggest challenges from information governance of unstructured data has been trying to throw that bridge across the ravine into the data side. And it seems that there may be some willing people on that side to sort of catch the other end of the bridge and secure it. Okay,
Yeah.
this is hackneyed metaphor already, but
Yeah.
it certainly is worth paying close attention to for those of you watching who are already tuned into this or recognize this sort of a need at your organization. I mean, we'd love to hear from you about what you're seeing, feeling, thinking, what kind of results or reactions you're getting from the other side. Um, Please feel free to reach out to me. You can leave a comment on the page here with the video, or send me an email. Gene will be sure to keep you in the loop of anything that I hear. It is starting, and it's a really good time, if it's not starting at your organization, to begin at least pulling the ripcord like you do on your lawnmower to get it started, so that when your organization is ready, so you're there to help drive it.
We've seen this call for tearing down, communication, or building bridges over communication chasms before, right? When in the world of records management, when records managers were trying to appeal to their IT partners and trying to influence the decisions that IT makes with records management and kind of retention and lifecycle mindset. I remember talking about this, learning about this in my early days at Arma, and again, you kind of see this need for allyship repeating itself, as we progress and evolve as companies and as information governance practitioners, records managers, and just, I guess, human beings, right? Like in this this crazy soup of technology and personalities and companies and money, and you see these patterns repeating over and over again. But I think we definitely, in this case, today and what we're talking about, I think we definitely have a basis on which to be aware of opportunities and also optimistic of what that means for the information governance space.
Awesome. So we'll wrap with that. Thank you so much for. I didn't realize you took the red eye back, so thanks for getting up. I appreciate it. So those of you watching, thanks for tuning in. We really appreciate that you took the time to view. Again, please do let us know what you think. And if you got other topics you'd like to see us talk about, please let me know that too, because the world is our collective oyster. So thanks again, Gene, and we'll see you all next time. This has been Speaking Of with Steve Weissman, the InfoGov guy, a Holly Group production.